Good Sunday afternoon. You know what that means? It's another exciting episode, Matinee with the homies. And today we got a very, very special episode. So let me kick it over to my co-host, the Dollar Tree Rey Mysterio himself. What's up, Campia?
Hey guys, we'd like to welcome y'all here. Thanks for having me on again. We're gonna do, as you've probably seen in the thumbnail, Sword and Sorcery Days. So we'll probably go on all kinds of tangents. I have some questions to ask, but really I'm just letting the guys and us go and just talk about movies we really love. Um, we're gonna try our best to entertain you today, and thank you for coming in here. Back to you, Phantom. Red Phantom.
Ebola. Atomic. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Every time.
I know it's gonna be a fun stream. We got some good topics to discuss, and Sword and Sorcery has just always been a great genre. So can't wait to get into it.
So Rhonda the Crusader. How you doing, Rhonda?
Rhonda the Conqueror.
Rhonda the Conqueror. That's a lot of K's, man. That's a lot of K's and C's, man. Somebody dyslexic, it fucks them up.
Well, I mean, I am of white skin, so the case fit perfectly. But other than that, of course, I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good myself. Just getting off the high of watching Excalibur last night. It was actually a really good sword sorcery movie. I actually quite enjoyed it. So I'm excited to talk more about the genre as a whole and just kind of like go real deep into it. Be some good stuff.
Yeah, that law's being too nice. I'm gonna get him back when he's on. I swear it's not hentai tonight.
Once you get going on it. All right, and for the last host that we have here as well, how about you, Jake? How you doing?
Well, I'm feeling a little sick, but I'm nevertheless happy to be here. 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Sunday to Matinee with the homies. We're going to be talking Sword and Sorcery, as you guys are now aware. Great genre, fun movies. There's some trash in there, but there's trash with every genre, so I wouldn't say it's any lesser or better than any other genre. I know specifically Phantom is really into these types of movies. He and I have had conversations about it. He's shown me so many movies that I've genuinely never even heard of. So his knowledge is deep and wide when it comes to this topic.
Vast.
And
that's what she said.
Even with
I was thinking the same thing.
That's what she said. And even with my comparatively little knowledge on this topic and movies, generally speaking, sometimes I still look forward to learning in the discussion. So I hope we entertain you all as always. Back to you.
All right, Campion, what we got first?
Well, first up, I'm going to ask what question I pretty much ask every week. What was the first or one of the first movies that you saw that was Sword and Sorcery that really drew you in, that really made you want to watch more of the series? Now, a lot of people will say Conan, and we'll discuss that later on. But for me, it was Willow. Willow just was one of those movies that I don't know what it was about my age. I was maybe 6 years old when that movie came out before, but I saw it on HBO years later on TV, and it's just, I could not put it down. I watched it from beginning to end. It's probably one of the first movies I ever did, I think my parents said. And it was just a great mix of the magic with the sword play. Val Kilmer was great. Warwick Davis was great. And, back then you didn't really see a lot of midget actors. So it's or little people actors. I don't know if that's PC or not. But it was a great story. And that was what it was for me. AP, what about you? What first movie do you remember?
It was first,
or what it
impacted you? Stardust. That movie I remember watching as a little kid, and that one just stuck with me. Yeah, I could not remember the name of it for the longest time. And 2 years ago, someone said the name of it. I was like, "What?" So I got to rewatch it. Yeah, I got to rewatch it, and I was like, "Holy crap!" It was that one, and then it was that one, and what's Never Ending Story.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Artax. Dude, yeah.
Artax.
Both of those got me into this.
Not UAP. I'm sorry. I was speaking to the chat. I apologize.
I know. I saw the comment as soon as you said no.
I'm sorry. No.
Well, yeah, those were the two that movies that got me in was Never Ending Story and Stardust, which, man, I did not know that Charlie Cox and Henry Cavill were in that movie, and I was until like
Yeah, they're big.
2 years ago, and I was like, oh crap, what?
A very skinny, blonde-headed Henry Cavill.
Yeah, he looks so weird with that blonde hair.
What about you?
Anyway,
yeah. What about you, Ronan? Yeah, I agree completely.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
totally.
I'm muted. I got it. I didn't realize I was muted.
Totally agree.
No, I had to think about it for a bit. Yeah, boomer moment right there. I had to think about it for a moment myself. Actually,
you mean a Rippa moment?
I tried to.
A Rippa
I'll take
moment.
that, I'll take that as an achievement. I'll take that as an achievement. So, but I had to really think about it for a bit, just because I know a lot of people like to bring up Conan. I didn't watch Conan myself when I was growing up, but
really,
I think what I would say, because I know we talked about this in the green room backstage before we started the stream. We talked about how sword and sorcery tends to like be used for comedic purposes nowadays. I think the two things that I actually remember, the first two things that I remember that are actual like sword and sorcery but used for comedic purposes. One was a Disney Channel show called Dave the Barbarian. Anybody who remembers that?
I remember that.
All right, I'm among good people. Good. Which like it was very fourth wall breaking, very meta humor kind of stuff. And the other one, and this is the one I wish that they actually turned it into a show. It was an Adult Swim show. It was just a one pilot episode. It was Korgoth of Barbaria. And I absolutely love that one so much. Korgoth of Barbaria was so hilarious, dude. Like that was sword and sorcery done to a absurdly violent and comedic kind of way, but I absolutely enjoyed it. And I would say that's what kind of exposed me more to it, just to check out that genre of storytelling.
So comedy sword and sorcery was your
mostly jam. Yeah.
What about you, Jake? What led you to this genre?
So, as the brains of the group, to be truthful, what led me would have been literature, honestly. Literature.
That's fair.
Whatever. So I guess if I had to do like a timeline until I got to the first movie that like really hooked me, it would be I read The Hobbit. I was given The Hobbit quite young. Basically, once I was young enough, my father felt that I was able to like actually understand all the words in it and read it. I read The Hobbit. I really liked that. Didn't get to Lord of the Rings for like another handful of years, what have you. And then this is a weird kind of twist, but then somehow I got a hold of like 4 collections, and by collections I mean each one of them was maybe like 50 or 80 pages of like young Indiana Jones comics. And they got up to all sorts of wild shit in there. There was like weird time travel stuff. There was stuff to do with like ancient Egyptians, ancient Greeks, and things of that nature, which I thought was really interesting to deal with. Like, you had like this early or mid to late 1920s time period of Indiana Jones with a whip and a gun. Well, he's younger, depending on which one of the comics it was. Anyways, but there was some sword and sorcery stuff in that. And then, obviously, we spoke about this last week. It might have been the week before, but I love Indiana Jones. However, I remember in 2000, shortly after it came out on VHS, and I don't know if this exactly counts because there's not really any magic in it per se. I think there's some insinuations of magic, but the 13th Warrior. When I saw the 13th Warrior, I know people really dislike that movie. There are some people who really dislike it, but then there's some people who really like it. I thought, at least, I was 7 when I first saw it, and I have gone back to watch it again. I'm like, yeah, it has its faults, but it also has its merits. I would say the 13th Warrior. I really enjoyed that. That I've always enjoyed, and I know this is kind of opposite to even Conan, if you will. I didn't get to Conan until later in life, like in my later teens. I didn't see it until then, but
I think that's how a lot of us were.
That team setting, that brotherhood, that fellowship, that camaraderie of like different fighters from different places in the world, learning about each other, becoming best bros, doing rad shit, killing evil people. Like, that is my jam. I love that so much.
Well, the 13th Warrior had mysticism in it, so I would kind of agree. It's kind of sword and sorcery, but I wouldn't say I'd say it's more realism to sword and sorcery. But I agree with you. I love the movie. I think it's a great movie. It's just it's kind of slow paced for some people.
It is very slow when you go back to watch it. It takes a while to get started.
Oh, Phantom, I know you probably read something on a tablet getting put in back in the the early ADs. But
He was
what was
watching
your
the play bake.
Yeah, what was your first one?
He was there
All
till
right,
the invention of that.
So mine was a cartoon series.
Oh, really?
Black Star.
Black Star.
Ooh, nice.
That was early 80s or late 70s?
Late 70s, 79, 80.
Okay.
So it was very long. So based off, so this is he's an Indian Native American astronaut that gets thrust to a black hole and ends up in the ancient universe, and he ends up getting there's a evil warlord, and he helps the people of a planet called Sagar, and he gets a sword that's split in two. So he has the Power Star, and the Overlord has the other sword. But my mainstream movie that I got that really caught my attention, Sword and Sorcery, was the movie we watched last night, Excalibur.
An excellent movie. If you've not seen
it's so good.
If you want to get in this genre, I would say that's one of the first ones to start with.
Yeah,
because it was good from beginning to end.
Dude, Merlin was straight up just trolling the shit out of fucking people in that movie. It was so good. It was
straight up.
So like what Merlin. If Merlin were a real person at that time period, let's presume he was for a moment, that's what he would do. You're somebody who is so old and so powerful that you would get bored eventually. Like this happens in stories all the time about like immortality, like what do you do when you've done everything type stuff. But like Merlin being the keeper, going into Arthurian legend, being like the keeper and waiting for this right person to arrive effectively. Yeah, he'd do a little trolling now and then. He'd mess with some people.
We do a little trolling.
He'd do it.
Just
also,
to actually build a little bit.
I want to do a quick shout out to one of the parts in the Heavy Metal movie, based on the comic stroke magazine, the specific like short movie, I guess, from original Heavy Metal, where John Candy as a boy touches the orb and he gets transported into his ultimate body and gets his kick-ass sword and just does some rad shit. Like, shout out to Heavy Metal as well. Something
the
also
end of
my
that
father
movie,
showed me way too young.
And the end of that movie is straight up. The end of the last bit of that movie was straight up Sword and Sorcery. The last part of the movie was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 2000 was too, but it was more a single narrative.
Still never.
Well, it was more sci-fi. It was still more sci-fi.
It's a decent one-time watch. I wouldn't say it's one you're going to watch again and again.
Oh man, we're all out of plutonium.
Michael Ironside as the villain was fucking dope in that movie.
His voice, just having his voice, it was pretty epic. Which he comes up later, maybe. So we all that's where we all got our start. The start of the genre though came with a writer known as Robert E. Howard. He was around in the 30s, and his first creations was, which we'll get, like everybody knows, Conan. He did write Kull, which I don't know if some people have seen the movie with Kevin Sorbo or not. There was a comic series that I have actually signed here. Yeah, I have it signed by Kevin Sorbo and Roy Thomas.
Kull came first. Conan came afterwards.
Kull was a character he created that was kind of the Conan-esque, but he gave it more dark qualities, which it's funny because the movie was not dark, but he gave it more of the dark qualities, like the Lovecraftian type of, because he loved Lovecraft, so he gave it that more genre.
A little bit of cosmic horror into it, basically.
Yes, exactly. Whereas Conan was straight up a barbarian fighting for his life.
So that's why Conan Exiles has Lovecraftian stuff in it.
Yeah. So Kull.
Well, they were friends.
Kull. The events of Kull happened before the calamity that leads into Conan. So Kull was the king of Atlantis, and the Atlantean sword that Conan ends up is Kull's sword. That's his sword that he gets later on.
We're talking like millennia
Crom took back,
a long time between when both would have existed in this universe.
Yep.
So it would be like great grandfather is Kull to Conan.
I was still long enough. Yeah. Okay.
But like a lot of like
200, 300 years. Yeah.
So the main character, the main villain in the first Conan the Barbarian, the James Earl Jones character, originated from Kull the Conqueror.
Yeah, Set was his.
Yeah. Boss of Doom
he,
was his main villain.
Yeah, he was a villain, like he was a mystical villain more akin to like a magician in Cole than he was in the Conan series.
I mean, and his name being set very kind of close in the power set, if you will, of the Egyptian god Set.
Well, Cause of Doom was that was what he based it around. Well. Yeah, that's what he based it around. The movie just called him Set. He didn't call him Set in the original books.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Here we go.
But he was the innovator, and AP, if you want to bring that picture up, basically he created the start of the, I guess you call it the tropes of the.
It was good.
It throws everybody off, it does say for 50-year-olds, but hang on. But basically, it was this was the trope, the design, the blueprint, whatever you want to call it, where you took one that says ripe, which is weird, but it's one ripped barbarian, one slave girl. If you wanted her clothes or not, that was a option. In the movie, it was always at least one scene. You had the sorcerer with his minions.
Everybody gets one
skeleton, exactly. And then a snake in it, which we all saw in the Conan movie, was the origin for it. Was the basic premise for that.
Can't you read it as it says? It says one giant steak for unknowable horror if you're feeling exotic.
which 90% of the movies in the 80s did.
That's true.
And then some kind of ruin or sacrifice, which that was what Robert E. Howard created. He put that in a lot of his books, almost all of them, pretty much, from what I found. And that's been the genre we built since then. And it's like it's an impact. It has an impact. It does talk about his what he's brought to us. Like even nowadays, a lot of these movies we see, like the Northman, the Dungeons and Dragon movies we get nowadays. That one. The Northman's actually pretty decent if you get a chance to watch it.
I heard it was good. I heard it was good. I haven't gone around to seeing it.
But that's the movies that that's the blueprint here that he's created. And it's just like, what I want to go into here is like, you see this a lot. Do you think it's a repetitive storyline, or does it stand the test of time with all the movies we've gotten over the years?
Okay, so I've seen Conan, the Schwarzenegger one, just recently. It still holds up. Still holds up. And with this blueprint that he did for these movies, there's a lot of people that have strayed from this blueprint, and a lot of sword and sorcery movies. That's the reason why we don't get them anymore, because they just don't know how to make them. They just don't.
Well, the question I want to ask is this, because I know we while we still have it here on the screen, just for time being, I know we got the blueprint here for how you make sword and sorcery stories and movies and things like that. I guess, and we were talking about this in the back room beforehand. I guess the question I got is
the back room.
Yeah, the back room. The question I got is like, what exactly makes a sword and sorcery story a sword and sorcery story? Because I know we have the ingredients here, obviously, but like at the same time, you wouldn't constitute something like Lord of the Rings as sword and sorcery. Instead, you would constitute it as medieval fantasy. But then something like Excalibur is considered sword and sorcery, and so is Conan the Barbarian. But the blueprint we got here definitely paints something in the vein of Conan the Barbarian. But then we got Excalibur, which is more, you don't have ripped muscular dudes running around like, I guess you could say, cavemen and whatnot. Instead, you have regally dressed men in knight's armor and everything. Yeah, there's sorcerers and there is some form of magic that occurs in it. So I guess what's the distinction is the question I got. You know what I mean?
With this here, like I said, it's a blueprint. Like any blueprint of like a building or something. Yeah, you've got this basic, but you can add things here and there. Like you said with Lord of the Rings, I do consider that sword and sorcery. It's more high fantasy sword and sorcery, but you got different genres that connect in there. Like Fandom has discussed before, there's sword and sorcery and there's sword and sandal,
right?
Which some do occasionally have the magic and mysticism in it, but you could follow like it. There's sword and sorcery, and then there's subgenres of it that kind of fit different movies. like we'll discuss like in movies, and I think it's more a personal preference, I guess you'd say. Is like, do you consider this sword and sorcery just because it has magic and swords? Is that make it a sword and sorcery, or does that make it a high fantasy?
Right. That could describe so many things, just having magic and swords in it. You know,
Yep.
there's movies with magic and swords and guns in it also that take place during the modern day.
Exactly.
Does that count? So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like swords, magic, and guns, like, and it takes place in the modern day. I know that would honestly be constituted as a what's it called, urban fantasy.
Urban
fantasy.
Which
all right,
which is a subgenre of fantasy.
That's just kind of something I wanted to know, because I know Conan tends to be like the standard. But whether or not it, still stands the test of time, I would say yes, 100%. Yes, it does. Like, just what Phantom's saying, mainly because for a deeper purpose of like, a lot of these tales are essentially timeless tales. You're talking about heroes of varying degrees of like morality. So like when you got Excalibur, he's obviously a noble hero. Yeah, he has his times where he falls, but ultimately manages to rise back up again. And then you got somebody like Conan, who as would be described as a nominal heroes. Like, there's not really other types of good, heroic, and virtuous types. The best you have is literally a dude who's just going to do what he wants to do and just so happens to save the world in the process.
You're right. It's about overcoming adversity, really.
Right.
Like Conan, it was, treated how he was, and he become Conan. He didn't just start off being muscular and strong and everything.
Yeah,
of course. Same thing with Excalibur. He was a whippy little squire boy. But he through his deeds and what he believed, his righteousness, like, here's what you need to believe, here's what you need to, like, trust in yourself, trust in your people, and it shows like what it can build to.
Yeah,
like, it teaches us nowadays what it's like to be a man. I hate to say it like
that. Specifically about like Excalibur, that one is about redemption, like falling down and building yourself back up and becoming better than you were.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's absolutely, like, that's, like I said, hero's journey, the redemption, and kind of very biblical tones, honestly.
And these are concepts that obviously stand the test of time. Now, it doesn't matter how much modernity tries to tear it down and suggest that we should be, forming ourselves in some different, more vapid and vacuous kind of way. These tales are still watched and talked about days on end, weeks on end, months on end for years and decades. Because of the fact that the very foundation and themes of them always stand the test of time. They are beliefs that a lot of us still hold on to this day.
Well, let me ask this. We all watched Excalibur. I don't want to give it away for the people in the chat, but do you feel like in the ending, I'll say that, do you feel like him going to Avalon was the right choice for that movie? Like, Jake, what do you think?
Well,
go ahead.
Sorry, Phantom. I was trying to throw out something for somebody.
I don't know if this is bias, like literary bias coming in, because there's a lot of different, not a lot, but there's a number of different, you could say, iterations or add-ons or what have you to the Arthurian myth. But in my opinion, going to Avalon isn't like a goal, let's say, that Arthur is working towards. It's supposed to be like a reward, like in the literary sense of like starting from nothing and ending on top. It's supposed to be like a reward that he is given, effectively, the ability to go. That's what I'll say. If anybody disagrees with that, please, by all means.
I think that's
well.
Fair.
It was actually his destiny to go there because of his lineage. He's the king.
But the point is that, again, someone who started from nothing, overcame adversity, fell down, picked himself back up again, which I want to swing back to in a moment, because something you said, Campia. Again, you could read it again as his destiny, of course, because destiny is something that you cannot avoid. It is what it is. Your fate will always be your fate. It doesn't matter what you do, because the future hasn't happened yet. Wherever you end up is where you end up. And that's how I like to read it, as, your fate is your fate, your destiny is your destiny. It will always be. You will never know until it finally comes. And that's why I like to view Avalon as like a reward, I guess you could say. Swinging back real quick, if I may, just to what Campia said. And Phantom, if this throws you off, let me know. I'll stop and let you say what you were going to say.
Yeah.
Campia, you were saying kind of timidly about how a lot of these stories kind of teach you how to be a man, if you will. And I actually really agree with that, because in life, broadly speaking, if you're a child, if you're a lady, if you're someone who is elderly, if you trip and fall, proverbially or literally, almost certainly there will be someone who will at least attempt to pick you back up. When you are a man, however, you are expected to get yourself up. And if you lie there, you will die. You will just stay there and die, whether it's thousands and thousands of years ago before agriculture, when we're hunter-gatherers, you fall in the forest because you broke your ankle and they can't bring you back. You're just going to die out there if you don't survive and get up. Or if it's now, if you fall in the streets of New York City and just lay there and can't get up, people are just going to step over you, you know? And I think, building into what you said, Ronan, about how these are timeless stories, and people could argue that maybe as time goes on, movies or books or what have you in this genre are like too iterative. They seem too samey, if you will. Well, it's because the core messaging, the core things that they're trying to not impose per se, that's a little forceful of a word, but to convey rather to readers, watchers, etc., are those types of things. When you fall, you pick yourself back up. When you hit adversity, you try to overcome it. You try to get to, regardless of where you started from, you try to get to that Avalon, even if you don't know that it exists, even if you don't know it's there, even if you don't know that it's your destiny. The whole point is to carry yourself, no matter what, as the best man you can, because you never know what reward will be at the end.
Faith and morality.
Take it on faith.
It's a morality tale.
Yeah, you take it on faith, right? No, of course. That's the assumption I was thinking you were trying to like bring up ultimately with it is faith, which that was my ultimate fits point perfectly, because I know Arthurian legend didn't really start off as a sort of Christian type of message to it, but it definitely got, what is it? Christianity definitely adopted the Arthurian tales into it, and then essentially mixed, you know, those kinds of sentiments in with the tales. That's why with Excalibur you see a lot of like allusions to Christianity in it as well. But I would actually argue it's because I know you were saying it's too early, Jake. I would argue that it's kind of feasible, considering that Christianity was the first religion to, you know, one of the first religions to pop up and then slowly make its way through the rest of the world. Now, during the Dark Ages, would it be kind of impossible for that to happen? I can make the argument and say that, yeah, it could, but you know, that's just me. I'll take it on faith that maybe they were, but that's just
me. Well, the thing about Arthur going to Avalon, it was a deal that Merlin made with the sisters of Avalon. Mm-hmm. You know, he made the deal when Arthur was a child. I mean, when Excalibur was originally created by the sisters of Avalon for the one true king, and at the end of Excalibur, Arthur is not dead; he is wounded. And they take him to go heal, and he's supposed to stay there until Britain needs him again, and the sword will appear, and Arthur will return.
Okay.
And that's the thing. That's the reason why he was taken there. It was because of the deal he made with Merlin, because he is the one true king.
Okay, so take what you just said, and then overlap it to the story of Christ. Now, I understand that not everybody's a Christian out there, and I understand maybe you don't know the entire story of Christ, but
it's okay to be wrong.
If you lay those two over top of each other, they follow each other quite closely. And now this can get into further theological discussions. This can get into pre-Christian discussions, etc. This can get into the whole like Joseph Smith,
Samaritanism,
right.
You know,
they could go to a
journey type thing, but they follow each other so closely. You could almost read into it, if you wanted to view it in like a religious, specifically Christian lens. You could view Arthur as Christ, basically, someone who didn't die but went to somewhere, effectively paradise, and will return eventually. A time will come when he will have to return.
Well, I mean, 1930s, 1920s, whenever Robert E. Howard was writing these stories, I mean, you could consider that Like it was we in the United States are more of a Christian country at that point. We were pretty much dominant Christian, and he, just like R.R. Tolkien, just like what's the other guy's name? Oh my God. Chronicles.
C.S. Lewis.
C.S. Lewis. You know,
a
lot of Christian ideas were brought into their stories because you know, like I said, it comes down to being a morality tale. Like this is how you should live your life.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that.
This might be upset. I apologize, Ron, but I really just need to get this out real quick. This might upset people, and I don't care. The West is built on Christian myth.
Yeah.
And myth, I'm just using as a general catch-all term. I'm sorry. I don't care. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. Western Europe, a lot of Eastern Europe, the U.S., North America, the Christian myth is throughout. That's just the way it is. For people who say that, you know, white people don't have, not to get too political, but for people who say that, like, you know, white people don't have any sort of history or any sort of myth or whatever, like, Christianity is like a massive, massive pillar. You could argue the foundation of great amount of our myths for, you know, well over 1,000, 1,500 years. Anyways,
okay, not to go too far from like the weeds on all of this, because I know we're starting to get a little too far from. Just the last thing that I will say, and then we can try and get back on track with the sword and sorcery stuff. It's funny you mentioned that, Jake, because that's one of the reasons that J.R.R. Tolkien also created Lord of the Rings, was because he wanted it to be essentially England's own creation myth. He wanted that one to be England's own creation myth, which is why he also combined elements of Christianity in it as well, too, because it's like it would be a shared history for all of England, that they could all look to this tale and feel like that they are one as a people, not just in terms of like ethnicity, but in terms of culture and faith and belief and things like that as well.
Like having a sense of unity and something to bring them together.
Of course. Right. Of course. And there are people nowadays trying to take that specifically from the English and English universities. I vehemently disagree with that, but no longer in the weeds. I apologize. Let us get back on track.
Well, they pretty much leads back to that. Like the movies that came out at that point in the 80s were like, you know, here's somebody trying to live their life. Here's a group that makes them feel like you want to go with Conan. He found Valeria. He found I forgot the other guy's name, but he found his two friends, and thank you. And he built a family together, and it was like, yeah, he was fighting for himself, but he's also fighting for his family. So, I mean, you could go that way with it when it comes to Conan. Family.
Family.
So it's like, you know, like I said, Conan was one of those that led me in the 80s. There was a bunch of 80s movies. There's a bunch of 90s movies. The 2000s, I don't remember many there. And then I'll talk about in a little bit the 2020s. But just right here, I'll just pretty much open discussion. If you want to bring up that picture, AP, like what movie? Like we have a couple lists here, but is there like movies y'all want to talk about in general, just to discuss? Like we love this genre, we want to talk about it. And is there one or two that you would like to?
Honestly, I want to see Phantom pick one of these and just like unhinge and just go off and tell us everything about it, because I love when Phantom does that. Honestly, I really do. Whenever I hear someone passionately talk about something they love, I love hearing.
Oh, we could talk about Krull. 1983, probably one of the most underrated movies that was released that year. It went head to head with Return of the Jedi. The critics panned it. It's actually got a good amalgamation of a love story, sci-fi, fantasy, sword and sorcery, good cinematography, soundtrack's phenomenal. The special effects are like still hold up today. There are issues with some special effects, but the Beast in this movie, probably one of the best suits that was ever made for a villain in a movie.
And the music,
the weapons music was phenomenal. Yeah, and the glaive itself, probably the most iconic weapons. One of the most iconic weapons of all time. It's on the fucking cover. He's holding it right here. Yeah, you know, he's holding it right there, and one of my favorite movies of all time. You know, it's got the sci-fi effect, like the Beast, the main villain. He's an alien that's conquering worlds, and he ends up on this one planet, and the people have to join forces to fight him. And there's a lot of sorcery, and there's a lot of magic and mysticism in this movie. I mean, the fire mares, horses that could travel 1,000 leagues in a day, and the fortress that literally at sunrise it teleports from one. It never is in the same place twice throughout the entire franchise. And it's probably one of the, in my view, it's probably one of the best sci-fi movies of the 80s. It's probably one of the best sword and sorcery movies of all time because of the story, how they written it. The characters were well fleshed out, and the villain is probably the scariest villain that was ever put on film next to Vader at the time.
Okay, so
at the time.
Phantom, I would love to ask you a question regarding this. It came out in '83, correct? Yep. So it went up against the third Star Wars movie at that time. As you said, it was critically panned. It bombed at the box office, et cetera, and so forth. You love Star Wars as well.
Yep.
I'm not asking you to pick one for a desert island, but if you had to take the two, and in your personal opinion, do you feel that what else? Okay, first off, thank you for answering. Secondly, on the level of I don't know, 0 to 10 or whatever level you choose to or whatever measurement you choose to utilize, taking Krull and taking Star Wars, do you feel that they are competitive with each other at the same level, and that Krull, it just got massively bashed unfairly? Like, Krull should be up there with Star Wars.
Krull should be up there with Star Wars. The thing is, it was name recognition. It's Star Wars. It was Return of the Jedi. It was the end. At that time, it was the final movie in the saga, and more people went and watched it. I mean, I didn't watch Krull in theaters. I got to watch it on HBO.
Okay.
And
agree with Phantom. Like with every movie, though, like every time you get a hit, there's going to be movie after movie after movie that follows the same genre. Right. And there's going to be good ones and a bunch of bad ones. There's going to be one or two good ones. Krull is like the top tier of that genre following Star Wars. It's just the fact, like Phantom said, Star Wars had the name recognition.
Star Wars,
but Krull was a good movie. It got its due, after the fact on TV, on
cult following,
on VHS. Exactly. Yep. But as for that's why I think the box office wasn't theirs, because everybody's like, "Oh, this is just a Star Wars ripoff," which it wasn't.
Which it was not. Yeah, it's if you've seen it,
unfair labeling, pretty much for it.
Exactly. But I mean, we didn't have the internet to tell us back then that this is not the same movie. It was just like, if you didn't see it, you didn't see it.
There was like a lot of problems behind the scenes. I mean, like the actress that's in the movie that plays the main character's love interest, they had to dub her. They literally had to dub her because they didn't like how she talked.
Was it an accent thing, or
it was her language.
She had a
Welsh accent or something.
It was
very hard.
It was very Cockney, very Cockney.
Okay, so she had a very strong accent. They dubbed her over. Okay.
And also the cast of Krull, you had Liam Neeson in his third movie ever.
Yep.
His third movie. I mean, he just did Excalibur back in 81. And he did this one, and this is before he hit name recognition, and you had a couple of Harry Potter stars in this movie too. You had was it Harvey Coltrane? He was dubbed in this. Robbie Coltrane. He was dubbed in this movie. You had a lot of phenomenal actors that were in this movie, and for me, I got to watch this. So I came in like halfway of the movie, seeing it one night, and I stayed up 3 hours later because I had it where you would have it like East Coast and West Coast of HBO.
Right.
I literally waited 3 hours to watch the beginning of it, and I fell in love with this movie. I love this movie. This is like the first movie I had on VHS, and I showed my kids was Krull. Because it's a fucking phenomenal movie. The soundtrack, the beginning of the soundtrack, you see the Dark Fortress literally in space. And what do you see first? You see the glaive flying throughout the galaxy, and you see the name pops up in that fucking soundtrack, that fucking main title.
Yep.
And
The
then
music was phenomenal.
then you see the Dark Fortress as it's flying in, and the music turns ominous, and it lands. The planet cracks, and you see the Slayers, which is the Beast's minions, his army, go out and start slaughtering people. And it's got good prophecy to it. There's a great prophecy to it. And I mean, I can't remember, but there's a guy that plays a Cyclops in the movie, and his not giving it away, but he has a good arc in the movie.
I think it's Richard Mole in it, the guy that played Bull.
I don't remember. But
I don't either. Raw fan.
I mean, there's twists, there are turns. It's a fun. I don't like love stories, but I do love this because it has a love story to it that actually is really fucking good. Because Colwyn, which is the main character, he's literally going for his wife. He is married to Lissa, and it's like I would have to say it's more like Seven Samurai in space. That's what it is. It's seven. You got the Seven Samurai sort of archetype in the movie.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The hero. Okay, I'll give you that.
It's not like it. It's just got similar tropes.
No, but you can see the similarities in it, and people panic. Oh, it's been labeled a Star Wars ripoff, and there's nothing about there's no Star Wars nothing in the movie.
It's kind of ironic considering Star Wars ripped off Seven Samurai, Hidden Fortress, and all those
so
other ones.
Many other things, so many other influences, if you will.
You want to know
influences? Thank you, influences.
A blatant ripoff of Star Wars is Star Crash. Star Crash is a blatant ripoff of fucking Star Wars. This is not.
Yeah, it was literally a studio. Star Crash was literally a studio idea of like, let's get something out now.
Well, I'm gonna kind of move on from this movie just because, I'm gonna talk about this movie, but I'm gonna lead away from it a little bit because I do feel like Phantom's right. Like this movie was really good, and it in the 80s it was more about experimenting with a new project IP than it is like nowadays being a franchise.
Right.
And I really think if Krull was around like say 10, 20 years ago, if it was popular or not popular, maybe it was good enough to be a cult favorite, I feel like we would have got a franchise building movie. Like it would have gone into other things. And
technically it was they were supposed to have another movie because it does leave you hanging at the end of the movie.
But that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. It didn't make the money in theaters, so they didn't want to do it then. I feel like nowadays they would have done it. And it's like it took a few years before you got the franchise movies. And one of the ones which is at the bottom here of the picture, AP, Highlander was one of them that I consider fantasy and sword and sorcery. Highlander is a franchise that I fell in love with as a kid.
And I find it so odd that it's a franchise because there can only be one. And I never understood that.
Oh,
I will say this. One is good. Two is not, but Michael Ironside was so good. Three, I can understand what they were going with there, but it wasn't a great movie. Although Mario Van Peebles was a great villain.
I gotta admit,
the TV show is really where
fucking awesome.
I think that they build that story so well with this.
And Christopher Lambert is so charismatic and such a fantastic actor. He's
blind as a bat. Blind as a bat. Couldn't wear contacts. Throwing the fucking sword around.
Yeah,
so good,
dude.
Love Christopher Lambert.
So I'll admit, I did not watch Highlander until like maybe a couple years ago, maybe actually last year.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first watched it, dude, I loved it. It was such a good movie. I was like, why did it take me so long to see this? I was heavily invested in the movie, and that's why I'm so concerned about this remake coming out for Henry Cavill.
It's going to be good.
Henry
No,
Cavill.
I know.
He loves the franchise. He loves the
Cavill's
franchise.
passionate about
it.
but it's still
Russell Crowe, who's going to play a
Amazon.
Spaniard for a second time.
Amazon. The part I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Henry Cavill is such a big guy, and you've seen The Witcher, so you've seen him in the sword fight and all that.
Oh yeah.
I feel like he would have been a better Kurgan than he would have been a Connor McLeod.
Right. He doesn't. He does. He's not. He's
unless he's
very
slim down a bit.
conspicuous. He's very conspicuous.
Well, it's like they're getting
Duncan. He could have been Duncan.
Could have been Duncan, but
He could have been Duncan.
if they were building that. Yeah, if they're not following, like, maybe we're wrong and they're not following the Connor McLeod storyline, but if they are, it's like, well, they are. Never mind, they are.
It's supposed to be. Yeah,
Dave Bautista is Kurgan.
Yeah.
And Dave Bautista at this point is smaller than Henry Cavill, so it's like
he's slimmed down almost certainly for a role, which is.
But he's also not taller than Henry Cavill unless they put him.
No,
they're roughly the same height. They're roughly the same height.
Like, that's the thing. The original right here, Clancy Brown.
Kurgan was
big
towering.
Clancy Brown's a big man,
and he was menacing. He was over Connor McLeod was not 5'10", if at the most maybe 5'8", but he fought with his knowledge, and Kurgan was the brute strength, and I feel like that's what's going to be missing on this new version.
Yeah.
Like, Henry Cavill does great. Like The Witcher is not a great show. First season I did enjoy, but he was a great sword and sorcery kind of Witcher.
He was a great Geralt, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we got that's a sword and sorcery show.
And poorly utilized.
Yes, I agree. I agree 100% with what you just said.
So,
and I did want to say one thing. I do want to say one thing. If you ever want to watch the second Highlander, go for the director's cut. Go for the director's cut, not the theatrical, because the director's cut doesn't do the whole fucking alien bullshit.
I was gonna say the original it's the renegade version is what they call it, but the original version, they come from a different planet. They come in through space into our world, which was kind of like but I mean the director's cut, the renegade cut, it is better. It does make it more where they're coming from the past to the future. So it has the mysticism there, but it's not as what's the word to put this? It's not as no way to put it. It's not as it's not as retarded. Not as retarded as trying to bring it from another planet.
Yeah.
And it makes more sense. The third movie is weird because it's like it's the end of the first movie where he, I don't know. It's if you ain't seen the movie, it's a freaking 45-year-old movie. You need to go watch it. He becomes the one. He becomes the one. And in the third movie, Mario Van Peebles' character was a immortal that got trapped, and basically he was living under a mountain fell on him. So he, for all intents and purposes, is dead and cannot move, cannot get released, cannot anything. So I kind of, when he finally does, like they're doing some kind of project and
basically forgotten. He's forgotten.
Yeah, but so it's like, so he comes back and they have it's the one battle, which I thought was kind of stupid to do that, but the movie itself.
Then you had Endgame.
Yeah, the movie itself was decent, and Endgame built off the TV show.
Yeah,
Endgame was decent, but the TV show. If you ever get into Highlander, if any of y'all get into Highlander, watch the TV show. Start with the TV show. I think you
don't watch Highlander the Raven. Don't watch that. Don't watch that.
That's not necessary.
Not required.
I do have it. It's not required. I say watch the first movie, then watch the series.
And don't watch The Source. The Source is like just that's sci-fi. That's the sci-fi challenge version of Highlander, and it was just awful.
Ooh.
The Source ruined. Yeah, it ruined the franchise.
When did The Source come out? Because
2009.
So it was during that era when sci-fi was just like they were putting out their own property stuff, and then they were getting whatever properties they could. They were just pumping shit out for whatever.
Yeah, this was a straight to sci-fi movie. It was had no budget. It was
awful.
It basically turned the whole mythos into a shit mythos. Like it's like the one. I'll go ahead and run. I don't care. The one is the guy that's supposed to have a child. That's what it is. It's like no mortal can have a child. It's the end is they can become human and have a child. And I'm like,
which is not how it works.
See, you made them nothing. You made them nothing. The point of Highlander as getting the one is you get the knowledge, you get the ability, you're able to help humanity, or you're able to rule it.
Yeah.
If you're a bad person, get it, you roll it, or you can help.
If
if
you're
a good person.
man, you would care for it. Yeah, right.
There is another
And
series you can watch. Watch the Highlander animated series with Quentin MacLeod.
Didn't know there was an animated one.
Yeah, it's Quentin MacLeod. It's another subject. I think it's after Duncan. He's before Duncan. He's before Connor, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay,
this is in the future. So this is like 1,000 years into the future.
Oh, okay, it's future. I thought it was past. But it's a decent show. I'd call it one of those. It's not required, but if you do like the series, it's a decent little side project, I'd say.
Source of entertainment is pretty much what.
Exactly.
Which is what we want from all our media. We want all.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I know this is something that we have hit on so many times on this show, but none of us ever want something to come out and for it to suck. Of course, we want it to be good. We want good media.
I want that Savant show to be bad.
All right, everybody gets one. All right.
Campia did the disclaimer for atomic Ebola.
Before the homies podcast do not condone nor endorse atomic Ebola's opinions.
Ebola. Get it right. It's liquid. It's liquid.
I do have a problem with one entry on here. You cannot put Clash of the Titans is Sword and Sorcery. That's Sword and Sandals.
Sword and Sandals, yeah.
That
Titans absolutely would be considered Sword and Sandals.
Yeah, because there's also Jason and the Argonauts on here as well, which would be more Sword and Sandals.
Sword
also.
and Sorcery.
I mean, it has magic. It has swords. Like that's what I was talking about.
Right.
There's different subgenres.
It's more Greek mythology. It's Greek mythology than
I would call it more.
He summed it up for me. The fact that it is built off of Greek mythology instead, and like the weapons that they use in there is like what are the swords called? Gladiuses, or essentially shorter swords, right? They're not like standard long swords that you would see in medieval fantasy, and as well as like the setting that they take place in. It's obviously Mediterranean style settings. So it definitely is more sword and sandals. Hell, in that case, then I'd probably put Troy as sword and sandals as well too. Just more historical type of.
See, I would consider that more historical sword and sorcery. But I mean, it didn't really have the
even the Scorpion King is Scorpion King is sword and sandal. Because
which is interesting because it's on the list here, but that one's definitely more.
See, I consider that kind of a mix of the two because I do see it as mysticism built into it.
Scorpion King, there is, especially considering it's like a prequel film for the Mummy, new Universal Mummy films, which there's obviously like magic and curses and some form of like, let's call it supernatural power, let's say, right? That makes sense there.
Dude, the Wizards movie shouldn't even be on there. There's not even no swords. There's sorcery, but there's no swords. It's more military than anything.
That's what I mean, though. It's a list of movies, but it's not the. Go ahead.
It's not a concrete list.
Yeah. Like the Beastmaster's here. That is sword and sorcery. It's in every sword and sorcery list, but it could be considered sword and sandal due to there being, the way it has the mysticism, it has the swords, but it could be considered sword and sandal too.
There's also an interesting thing here where Ronan, building off something you said, where you were specifically tying Jason and the Argonauts and excuse me,
Clash of the Titans.
Clash of the Titans to Greek mythology. Well, an argument could be made that Beowulf is tied to Nordic mythology, to Norse mythology, because that story is a lot older than when it was first written down.
But that's sword and sorcery, though, because
Beowulf. Beowulf, you can make the argument it is more sword and sorcery. And again, it's kind of one of the things that I also put was with sword and sandals, with like Clash of the Titans and Jason and the Argonauts. One of the big things about it was the setting, which is in a more Mediterranean seafaring kind of location, right? Now, I understand with Beowulf, there is still definitely some seafaring that occurs in that one, especially considering that the beginning of the story, funny enough, this is one of the first instances of the phrasing and the mechanical writing usage of in media res, where you just kind of get thrown right into the action. They do that with Beowulf, and like the beginning of the story, they're in the middle of like the North Sea, basically dealing with some crazy storm. So yes, the Norse are a seafaring people as well too, but again, like it's a different geographical location. they're not running around wearing sandals, and I know that that's kind of a moot, very surface level point, but like the aesthetic of it is clearly more in tune with like old pagan kind of like northern type of styles,
Norse pagan mythology, basically.
Which is why I brought back that question earlier about like what really constitutes sword and sorcery and sword and sandals in this regard. Like, is it an aesthetic thing? Is it something that's deeper level to it? That's kind of why I wanted to bring it up. I'll say this, however, if I can bring up one film on this list that I think is quite a peculiar one out of them all. The Green Knight. This one's the most interesting one for me, I would say. I actually watched this one maybe a year back.
Arthurian legend.
It is part of Arthurian legend, but it's an interesting retelling of the tale of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. This one's an interesting retelling of it because, for starters,
Sword and the Valiant's better.
It almost has like a horror element to it. Speaking about like Sir Gawain's fate.
Well, the interesting thing is that this is also made by A24, so it's funny you bring up horror because A24 is a studio well known for a lot of ascended horror, as they like to describe it, where it's like
which it's a little up its own ass as a term, but I know what you're saying.
It can become it, but it is also like some of the films actually do a pretty good job with that ascended or elevated horror, however they describe it. But with the Green Knight, one of the weird things that they do, one of the first changes, just to show that they're kind of like modernizing the retelling of this tale, is they hire Dev Patel, who's an Indian actor, to be
Englishman
Sir Gawain. Yes, he plays the Englishman Sir Gawain in this, which is really weird. And one of the other things too about it is that it's a very experimental type of film where they obviously have him go through the same trials that he does in the tale, where he has to face against the Green Knight and does just about everything that he can to kind of avoid it, shall we say, until he finally confronts his destiny. But there's something almost, how do I describe it? There's something almost kind of like demeaning, shall we say, about the entire film, where it feels as though that, okay, so with the original tale, Gawain understands that he has this challenge where he has to face off against the Green Knight. He has to, initially he tried to chop, the Green Knight's head off just to see if he could actually slay him. Didn't work. Green Knight proves to be essentially immortal to a certain degree. And because of that, now the Green Knight wishes for Sir Gawain's head. So then he has to go and meet with the Green Knight to basically offer his head. And he's doing everything to avoid that. But then when he finally confronts his destiny with it, the Green Knight obviously spares him. He returns back to the kingdom as a hero, and he's rewarded for it. But in this film, you're very much left in the dark, and it's very open-ended about what actually happens to Sir Gawain. Sure, the Green Knight just kind of like puts his finger over him and says, "Off with your head," and just kind of messes with him. But after that, the film kind of just finishes up, and there's not much more left with what occurs with Sir Gawain. So it feels kind of.
Would you recommend it?
It's an all right film. I would still say either stick with
very cerebral.
Which one's the film that you said, Phantom?
Sword and the Valiant. That's actually more in tune with the true
original tale of Sir Gawain
story. Yeah, that's actually more faithful to the story of him and the Green Knight. It's the one with Sean Connery as the Green Knight. It's actually more it's more in line with the original stories, because in this one, it's more or less. I'll spoil it. So Gawain is more he's more like a rich boy that doesn't want to be a knight, which that's not how Gawain is.
No,
and
he's
running away. Yeah, he's running away from his responsibilities. And in the one with Miles O'Keefe, the Miles O'Keefe version of it, it's actually he becomes a knight. This is where he becomes a knight because he wants to prove himself. Right. And it's actually a better, to me. I've seen the Green Knight. It's okay, but I prefer Sword of the Valiant. It's more in my line of what it should be.
Is Sword of the Valiant a 80s movie, or is it earlier, later?
80s.
I will say, if you are interested in watching this version of the Green Knight, literally called the Green Knight by A24, like a lot of A24 movies, not necessarily horror movies, it's very cerebral. There's parts that you kind of have to interpret for yourself, or have a second watch to like get it. Because when Ronan was bringing up the various like trials and things that he does between his first meeting of the Green Knight and his final showdown, if you will, with the Green Knight, there are some of them that are very like opaque, and you're not really, if you don't know the lore or the story, you might not necessarily understand what exactly he's trying to do, because it's so cerebral and like it's kind of difficult to get.
The subplot between the Green Knight and Gawain's mother was fucking retarded.
That was also the strangest thing as well too. Was that Gawain's mother was the one that was more or less kind of setting up this this meeting of these two, this kind of destiny of sorts.
Which is
Gawain's mother in this is essentially a witch. She is essentially a witch, which I don't ever remember that being in the lore of the actual tale of Sir Gawain.
I don't think it is.
His mother, Gawain's mother died in childbirth.
Right.
He never knew his mother. He never knew his father, because his father was killed in the first major wars when Uther was trying to take over Britain. So he never knew his father. He was literally an orphan during that time, and Arthur took him in when he found him as a boy to be his squire. I mean, that's Gawain's history.
Speaking of Uther, if I may, I'm going to do a name drop that maybe one of you will get. Uther Lightbringer, the Warcraft movie based off of the original Warcraft book, Warcraft Orcs and Humans. Obviously, the Warcraft games came out. How do you guys feel about that being considered a sword and sorcery movie, or a sword and sorcery setting? Now, I understand you can like or dislike the movie, but as far as the setting,
I never watched this.
Yeah, I would.
It's definitely.
Someone who's been a big Warcraft fan, World of Warcraft, I played a lot of. There is so much magical use. It brings it to high fantasy for me.
Right. No, that's actually what I was going to say.
Like it should be sword and sorcery should be slightly lower fantasy. It shouldn't be like everybody can cast fireballs and shit. Or
y'all would call would you call the Green Knight? Would that be considered a psychological sword and sorcery movie?
I guess you could make that argumentation that Green Knight could be.
I mean, I've not seen it, so I don't know.
Sorcery. It's very okay. Let me put it like this: it is very cerebral, and like it relies a lot on like very more natural and pagan interpretations of magic, where it's a lot of attunement to like nature and a lot of attunement to the old ways and the old gods, essentially. So it's very connected to that. So you can make the argument it's sword and sorcery in that regard, but this is almost kind of like describing high fantasy, mid fantasy, low fantasy. You would probably put it on like a lower spectrum of sword and sorcery in that regard, along with it being on a lower spectrum of fantasy, low fantasy. With Warcraft, and you bring this up really well, Jake. With Warcraft, there's a whole lot of magic elements, as well as the fact that there's literally a separate race from humans in this, the orcs, that humans are fighting against.
Planet, by the way.
Okay, so in that case, then I don't know. There's something about the concept of sword and sorcery in general that almost makes it feel like a fully human story. As soon as you start introducing other races into that kind of story, unless it's like old gods, like for example with Conan introducing Lovecraftian type of beings and gods into there. Unless it's something like that. In the case of Warcraft, I would probably put it mostly in fantasies, exclusively in fantasy, just because of the introduction of the orcs.
I agree, and
that's just my interpretation, at least.
I agree with you, Ronan. AP, I agree with you, and this is without, because I know I could and others could. This is without expanding past the boundaries of this movie, because if you were to expand past the boundaries of the movie, read the books, play the games, get all that lore, there's so much other shit. But just in the bounds of this movie, it's very, very high fantasy. You could even argue that there's even like sci-fi elements to it. Not quite. Again, the orcs do technically come from a different planet. And again, it the way I view high fantasy versus low fantasy, and I know there's numerous ways to do it, and there's people who've written about it. Low fantasy is the magic is very like demure. It's quite rare, but it's still done. Whereas in Warcraft, in the movie, like there's magic users all over the place, and they're casting magic all the fucking time. Like you can just go to college basically and become someone who can cast magics. Like that is way too high fantasy.
So you get both sides of the story in this movie. I've not seen this, so I don't know.
Well,
you follow the villain and the good guy, even though one is not other.
The thing about Warcraft is like, you know, and the whole thrust initially in the original game, and then they fleshed out in the books, is that the humans and the orcs are not inherently evil. There are evil people in each group. It just so happens that the orcs and the humans can't, you know,
it's the individual,
their
not the race.
Did not go well.
Yeah,
they had an initial interaction that was like fine, and then they kind of like said, "Hey, we're gonna stay apart from each other." And then there are specific persons being influenced by, again, this is in the movie, but you can get way past outside the bounds of the movie, being influenced by like things way older than themselves, way more powerful than themselves, way bigger than themselves, that are trying to influence large groups to break off from either the orcs or the humans and to create war amongst them. But when it comes to just the general, like there are some good fight scenes with massive group melees in this movie where it's straight up just, you know, swords and axes and maces and just, you know, a fucking orc picks up a horse and throws it at like 4 guys, which is just
I think I remember that scene actually.
So like, is this a recommend then?
Honestly, it's kind of long. The lore is
well. I mean, is it a you would watch
I would
once
recommend
but not watch
it because
again?
I find it to be entertaining. I think it's entertaining. I think the story is good enough. It throws out a lot of names and places and things that it never gets to, even with the length of the movie, because there is so much to Warcraft lore. But for the movie itself, I would recommend it, and that's one of the reasons why I picked this.
So I'd like to add something real quick.
Yeah.
So specifically regarding Warcraft. If you're looking for sword and sorcery, don't look for this movie because this is a more high fantasy movie, and
absolutely agree.
There might be elements you could say are sword and sorcery, but it's very much like high fantasy. Well, but if you want to watch a fantasy movie, I'd recommend watching this because it is actually it's a good movie. It is not the greatest by any means, but I personally, when I watched it, I quite enjoyed it. There was some. And visual effects, the CGI, it looks good. Fine. It looks really good. It doesn't pull you out of it. It doesn't feel like there's any Thor: Love and Thunder moments in it.
No, they play it straight.
But,
they play it pretty straight the whole time.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. And the main actor does a pretty damn good job playing the character. He's and so yeah, like I recommend as a fantasy, but as a sword and sorcery. You probably got better options there.
That's what I was going to say about, like, I love Legend and it's considered sword and sorcery, but there's not really a lot of sword play in it. It's more a psychological fantasy movie, and it's like there's a bunch of movies like that. Like there's that one. There was one like the Your Highness. I don't know if it's coming through on this. The comedy sword and sorcery movies. A comedies. But I mean, the thing about nowadays is like I looked it up and I tried to see like what movies have made an impact that are sword and sorcery in the past 8-9 years, and Warcraft wasn't there. It was it had 3 movies is all it brought up from 2019 to now, and that was The Green Knight, that was the Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves. And the Norseman, and it's like, what's happened to these movies? Why are we not getting these high fantasy? So yeah, I want everyone here. Like, why are we not getting these movies anymore? Why are we just getting sparse?
I'm not digging big into it right now, but I just wanted to say one thing regarding the Norseman. There is like no magic in that. Like it is just straight up sword and sandals, if you will. There's like no magic in that. Like there's readings into like the Nordic gods and prophecy and things like that, but there's no like casting or using of magics really.
Well, it's similar to the 13th Warrior in my eyes.
Yes,
on that one.
Yes, but
there is mysticism, but it's not really
It's not overt.
So I want to say this about specifically why, like going on to what you asked, Campia.
Well, where they've gone.
Yeah. I think why we're not seeing so many is, well, one obvious answer is because for the last 20 years, superhero movies have been the big thing. So, and I get that is technically a variation of fantasy. However, I think that's one of the big reasons. I think the other reason is I think people are scared to kind of tackle fantasy projects because, especially if you're making your own world, it's very convoluted, very in depth, and very intimidating to say the least. Especially, or even if you're tackling like pre-existing stuff, like we saw like Charlie Hunnam's King Arthur, which good movie,
right?
Didn't quite do well. And
it sounds like what you're expressing is they need good writers who actually pay attention and care about these topics.
Well, it's funny you say that because one of my opinions as to why we don't see that many sword and sorcery movies or TV shows or films nowadays, I think one of the reasons is because sword and sorcery is more or less inherently a very pro-masculine type of storytelling.
Oh yeah,
it's absolutely a pro-masculine storytelling.
Toxic masculinity.
One of the prime examples, Conan the Barbarian. What's the famous thing that he's always known for? What are the greatest things in life, Conan? To crush your enemies, see them flee before you, and hear the lamentation
of the women.
That's the kind of stuff that a lot of modern writers nowadays would actually flee in abject terror from. Which, funny enough, now that I'm talking about Conan, if you guys do remember, Amazon was in talks of trying to make a Conan series before, ultimately decided to reject making it. And what was one of the reasons? Far too toxically masculine. That's why they said that there was too much toxic masculinity in it, that it just didn't work for them. We know why it didn't work for them.
Which is kind of sad because they did one in the 90s. It didn't do well, don't get me wrong. But the one in the 90s was totally not there was no toxic masculinity. Is made for more teen and kids, and it's like they could have done it that way. They just choosing not to.
So if I may take two things and use them as kind of like bookends. If we have the most recent, which would be like toxic masculinity, that's why, that could be a reason or maybe the reason, who knows, why sword and sorcery, sword and sandal movies have kind of died. Let's take that as like the end bookend. And we have the beginning bookend where sword and sorcery movies are quite popular. Phantom, you spoke about a lot of these that came out in the 80s and things. You are also a big fan of sword and sorcery and sword and sandals, and you've seen them through time, through the 80s, the 90s, 2000s, 2010s. Have you noticed a pattern when it comes to the movies over the past, let's say, 40-ish years? Like, have you noticed them drop off in quality? Have you noticed them change the masculinity and into more like a lesser thing, or people start to point out and say, haha, that's not what it's supposed to be? Do you feel like there is something, or maybe there was a time or a specific movie where something changed and suddenly it no longer became popular, if you will?
The thing with sword and sorcery, it was popular in the 80s. And I think it was just the times. People were more moving away from it. They were going to more like action movies. I mean, Schwarzenegger, his biggest film of all time was Conan. Then it was Terminator. And it's in phases. Do you
think it was oversaturation of the 80s that made it go down?
Probably.
I think that was part of the reason.
I mean, if you really think about it, if you look at most of these movies came out in the 80s. Red Sonja,
80s and early 90s.
Conan,
with few of them coming out.
And this is a limited
later
list,
than 2000,
guys. Yeah, for you guys watching this.
This is just a Googled list. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But the thing is, the thing was, were there bad sword and sorcery movies? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there were some bad ones, but were there some that were considered bad and they wouldn't bad? Absolutely.
Krull is the epitome.
Critics do that though.
Hey, Red Sonja is another one. Red Sonja got a lot of hate, but had a cult following much later on.
So I want to say something.
Well, it's not a good movie. It's just a fun watch.
When you finish up, Phantom.
Yeah. Then you would have I mean, say like the one with David Carradine. It's David Carradine, the warrior and the witch or sorcerer.
Yeah, warrior and the witch. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's just movies have a cycle. They have a cycle, and the 80s were. I mean, 80s. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're returning. We watched Frankenstein Friday night. Phenomenal fucking
Well,
movie.
that's what I'm saying. You
Really
never
good.
know. Highlander may bring back the Sword and Sorcery era.
It
It
could.
could.
Well,
If they'd have done Witcher better than what they did, I feel that would have brought it back.
Witcher
That
would
would've
have
brought it
been
back.
good.
well,
It would have been good if they didn't cut Geralt's fucking balls off and put him in Ciri's purse.
Here's the
You
thing,
know?
though, is that Sword and Sorcery is kind of already sort of trying to make a comeback. Apart from the
Yeah.
Highlander show they're making, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there is another Red Sonja movie that came out this year.
I already forgot about that.
I haven't watched it myself. I don't know if any of you guys have watched that either. I know we're mostly talking about the older Red Sonja because a lot of us have like fond memories of that one.
Movie, no.
But they're still trying to bring Sword and Sorcery back. Now I hear very mixed reviews with this new one, but I mean it's still alive and kicking. It's just unfortunately turning back into like a niche kind of genre, if anything.
The same thing with the Phantom talking about, the one with the Jason Momoa. Like
they tried to relaunch
2001 one.
I enjoyed the hell out of that movie. Does it have problems? Absolutely. But for me, like after Conan the Destroyer, Jason Momoa's Conan was a flashback to the ultraviolet fucking Conan. I mean, just like the beginning of the movie. Beginning of the movie when he's a kid and they're doing the test with the egg. And what does Conan do? He kills men, cuts their heads off, drags their heads back to camp when all the other boys pussied out and ran away. And he spits the egg out. Now, like
he's a boy, by the way, guys. He's a boy when he's not a teenager. He's a boy.
He was born on the battlefield. People forget that about Conan. He was born on the battlefield, literally.
Yeah, don't think about the first movie. He didn't always just push wheels.
So,
no.
So, by the way, I want to go back to specifically referring to another reason I wanted to add to why I think we're not getting more stuff like the Sword and Sorcery and fantasy as all is because if you look at modern fantasy projects, the modern Willow show, the modern Witcher, modern Rings of Power,
modern audience,
audience.
Yes, no, my point here is they look so generic, so bland, so copy and paste. Like they don't look unique. You can look at each like there's a popular post going on X where you see like pictures from 4 different shows, but you really cannot tell which show they're from because there's no uniqueness.
Shout out to John A. Douglas because he's the one that actually made that post. John A. Douglas,
shout out to him.
Made the post and basically, like demonstrated like what you said, AP. All the modern fantasy shows are just bland. They're boring. There's no unique identity to any of them.
For example, I wanted to say something real quick.
Go ahead.
I just want to say something real quick. When you look at like Conan the Barbarian, the original, the Arnold Schwarzenegger one, or you look at the original Willow, or you look at Lord of the Rings, or Chronicles of Narnia, you can distinctly tell which world it is because there's personality, there's unique depth, there's armor.
The setting is unique.
The armors are even like forged differently. It's just so much unique. Like I said, like there's so much like variety there.
You can tell the author loved what they were writing.
Exactly. Yes. But nowadays, it's like I said, you cannot see the difference.
It's a paycheck to get a message out.
Yeah. Exactly.
That ties back to what I said like 15 minutes ago when AP you were talking about a potential reason why they have died, and you need writers who genuinely care. If it's something that is pre-existing, you need writers that genuinely care about the source material and want to actually write it well and stick to it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, none of us could write a Barbie movie. Let's be honest. People love that Barbie movie, but none of us here could have wrote it.
I don't know. Rhonda could have.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Let me ask this. Because I'm just curious myself what y'all think. Opinions. Do you consider Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon to be sword and sorcery?
No.
Well, again, this kind of
Okay.
high fantasy.
I have not seen
fantasy.
either of those.
well, actually, no, I would disagree on
I
it
would
being
say
high
it's low
fantasy.
fantasy,
I'd
actually.
I would see.
I'd put it
say
as
low
low fantasy, which
Yeah.
I suppose we could kind of delve real quickly on like how George R. R. Martin kind of writes a lot of these kinds of stories.
Mhm.
Let me just condense it as quick as I can. I'm basically trying to reference the one post that went viral, like maybe a couple weeks back to a month back, where
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
George pretty much can't finish writing Winds of Winter, and he can't finish writing the whole Game of Thrones series
He's
because
scared.
he's scared, and he just does not know how to write heroes anymore. He had an idea on how to write a hero with Jon Snow, but because the show basically presented an ending
heroism.
that more or less was probably what he wanted.
Last season, yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then people hated it. He realized, okay, no, I actually have to write something that's more virtuous and heroic, but I don't know how to do it.
I disagree.
We're not getting it.
I think he's already finished them. He's just scared about releasing them, and I feel like we ain't gonna get them until after his death. I think he's already wrote them, or at least wrote one of them. I think he's already wrote them. I think he's just waiting until his death.
So you think there's like a multiple manuscript type thing? Like he's written 3 different versions of Winds of Winter.
I 100% believe he has, because he's had so many years. I know he's doing other things, but I feel like
it's been 13 years since
he's
last
had
book.
so many years.
And the first book was nearly 30 years ago at this point. We need to remember. Like people don't realize this. The first book came out in the 90s.
And I just think he's waiting. He's like, I ain't gonna release it. I'm gonna let it re-release post mortem, and they can deal with it then.
I think Gary put it. I think Gary put it best. It's another reason is the paycheck, the people, the fan theories, the ideas, like speculations, all that is getting George more money. So if he cuts and like ends a story, and there's a lot less fan theories you can have about and speculations about the ending, so a lot less money will come in.
AP, that's a really good point, and I view that as a two-edged sword. You have all this time that has passed since the last book was released, all the speculation, all the fan theories, etc., which is bringing in money. But you also have the other edge, which is George R. R. Martin is probably thinking like, oh my goodness, how the F am I possibly supposed to live up to their expectations? That's how I personally feel he's probably had a moment like that where he's like, it's been so long now, and there's so many theories now, and people have written their own versions on, like free forms or what have you.
Oh yeah, that is one thing.
I was going to use that idea, or I was going to use this storyline, or I was going to do this, or I was going to do that, and people have already kind of like done it in some ways. He's like what Campia said, he's probably written maybe a few different manuscripts, and they won't be released till postmortem. And who knows, maybe even more money, they would release all of them, and you can get them in like a set, and it could be like a choose your own ending to the series type thing.
Oh Jesus!
I don't want to speak that into existence, but
well, I mean, AP said it right. He's probably it probably is. Like I said, he's probably wrote it. He's probably like, if I release them now, it'll just be over. Nobody will care about me anymore, and I won't be able to do anything. And
possibly. This is another thing, possibly.
He
could be getting ideas from other people.
Yeah, it's sad because House of the Dragon season 1 was so good. So
I heard it was so like okay,
and it was excellent. Season 1 was,
of course, there's the new spin-off series that he's doing,
the
Night of Kingdoms as well, which looks like it's going to be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I actually might watch that. I have not. Okay, so I have not seen Game of Thrones or what's the other one?
House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon. Yeah, I have not seen either of those, and I don't really want to watch Game of Thrones just because I know the ending is so bad. I'm like, I don't want to watch it. I hear season 1,
the 5th season in that case, and
then watch up to 5th season and then just stop.
Don't worry about the next.
I'm not okay. I'm like I said, I'm not really a fan of like the graphic sexual scenes in that movie. In that show, I just
adult fantasy type stuff, which
especially like the supposed sibling stuff that goes on. I don't want to see that crap.
Oh, not supposed, definitely.
Oh no,
definitely.
I know it's not supposed. I don't want to see that stuff.
Oh man!
Stop after before seasons. After before, okay.
Yeah, after before.
That's like turn left, right.
Yep.
So Campy, do we have much left? Because we're almost at an hour and a half.
No, that's it. I mean, unless y'all want to bring up another movie or any movies y'all can think of, I mean, we could end it here. Good discussion today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Yeah,
I want to talk about one movie that wasn't on there, but it's one of my favorite sword and sorcery, but it's also it's an anime. It's Star Crash.
Interesting.
Star Chaser.
Star Chaser.
Star Chaser.
So
interesting.
So this movie.
Fake news.
This is a kid. So this is a kid that's born into slavery, who lives inside of a planet, and they're mining for like jewels and stuff. And he finds a sword that the blade disappears, but there's a lot of magic and sci-fi elements to it. Like another movie that like probably one of my favorite 80s sci-fi, sword and sorcery movies has to be Beastmaster. Straight up.
Hell yeah. Shout out.
I brought that up earlier.
And the thing is, this is not like, so this is based on a book, but it's not the adaptation from the book.
Right.
Because it was a Native American instead of Mark Singer, but still a good movie. You have movies like The Seventh Son, which is a good sword and sorcery. You have Season of the Witch, Nicolas Cage. Damn good.
Underrated, massive. Movie. I think was very underrated, and critics panned it, and I felt that was undeserved personally.
Same thing with Willow. Willow was so good a movie, but
somewhat irrelevant.
Critics didn't get it. Yeah, critics didn't get in there. Then.
Well, also that was the movie that literally put Val Kilmer on the map. Was Willow? Yeah, he put him on the map after that. But
because Top Gun was 3 years after Willow, I think.
Well, Real Genius was the second one after this, after Willow.
Yep. No, it was before Willow.
Was it before?
It was before Willow. Real Genius came out like a few years before Willow. That was like 82, 83.
Oh, okay. Willow's 87. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He did like Top Secret in
spoof movie?
Real Genius around the
Top Secret,
Okay.
Yeah, he did Top Secret and Real Genius around the same time.
Willow was what made him a movie star, let's be honest.
Yep.
And then Top Gun blew it up.
Before we do wrap up, I guess there's one more sword and sorcery series I would like to shout out to. I haven't seen it myself, but I've heard a good number of people talk about this because it was also made by the master of B movies and schlock himself, Roger Corman. Deathstalker.
Night Stalker.
The Deathstalker series is actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I want to see the remake. I want to see the remake.
I had almost forgotten that there is a remake for this film as well too. So kind of want to check this one out as well.
Wasn't there like 3 of them though? Deathstalker movies?
4 Deathstalker films. Yep.
What?
Well, Corman did a lot of them, and like one of the movies that were on the list, Sword and the Sorcerer. I talk about this movie all the time. Probably one of my favorite 80s sword and sorcery also, because it has sorcery, it has swords, and it has like this dude that's like he's literally a king that doesn't want to be king. He just wants to be the rogue that he is. Great movie.
Yep.
But if we don't have nothing else, I guess we can start rolling out outros.
Yeah.
So Ronan, what you got going on, buddy?
Ronan, Rhonda, whatever you'd like to call me. I am, he is. I don't know if I'm doing it first or third person, whatever. Whatever. I am.
Yeah, that's what she said.
I'm having some streaming troubles for some reason, which is why I haven't been able to do it like the last week or so. I'm gonna see if I can fix some of those issues going on, and then hopefully, if not tonight, definitely Wednesday, I'm gonna start streaming again. I'm still figuring it out. I was going to do Battlefield 6, but I already busted my PlayStation 5 controller yesterday, so probably not Battlefield 6.
I heard about that.
You knackered
it. I still got to pick up, I already have it, but I still got to play Death Stranding, and I am also officially putting the first original Fallout game on the list as well, in preparation for Season 2 of Fallout coming up soon.
Oh, that's gonna be a topic right there.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
Also, just a quick thing to like give a shout out to Landman season 2 is out now too.
Yep.
Oh, it is.
I want to check it out. Yes,
I gotta watch it.
Go
Dude.
watch Landman. It's a great show.
Landman season 1 was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh
season 1 was great. I heard
and I hate Billy Bob
Sam
Thornton.
Elliott's in it, dude.
That's one of the first shows because I've watched movies from Taylor Sheridan, but it's like one of the first shows of Taylor Sheridan that I watched, and I fucking love it. Great writing.
I do not like. I cannot stand Billy Bob Thornton except for Sling Blade, but my God, he's so good in Landman.
I like my beans and gravy.
You want some of them French fried taters?
The implication of that is hilarious. You can only stand in the Sling Blade.
I mean,
that's the only movie I like him in.
I'm sorry.
Ebola's not wrong.
All right, Campia, what about you? What do you got going on?
I am your sugar honey iced tea memer for the homies and GCA. I'm here every Sunday and I help out behind the scenes. You can find me on X. You can find me on Criticlist. I go on there all the time now. We need to that's what we need to start. We need to start doing like Criticlist reviews of a movie we do on Fridays. We need to get built on that. But I'm here every week. You can find me. I'm still working on that dang video for coming out on my channel, and
we'll get GTA 6 before we're gonna get GTA 6 before you put your V out, Hayden, Campia.
Probably.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Hayden.
Yeah, me and Hayden. I don't know what it is with us.
Man, dude, but you know what? You remind me of Tobias Hayden. Tobias Hayden, man.
Yeah,
you do.
Curious,
I don't know who that is. AP, what about you?
Oh man, you can find me on X, on as Campia said, on Criticlist as well, which plugging that a lot more. I also have a Kick account which I don't use.
I'm there anyway.
I got a Kick account that I can't do nothing on.
No, I'm mainly on X and YouTube. That's where my main stuff is, and I recommend joining the homies Discord because we do watch parties now for movies and stuff. So I recommend going there.
Links are in the description.
What about you,
anyway, Jake?
As always, I'm here
from State Farm.
They're khakis, by the way, just khakis. My name is Big Dog Jake, BIGGDOGGJAKE. I'm a professional, though occasional VOA. I am a writer for hire, and I love video games and metal music. We'll talk to anyone about them. You can follow me basically everywhere at BIGGDOGGJAKE if you would like to reach out or speak to me. And as always, I'm here 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time doing Matinee with the homies. And of course, on Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the official For the Homies podcast, for which I'm very proud of how far we have come with that. And keep giving us some subs, keep giving us some watch hours. We're getting close, and we can taste it. We can taste monetization and then explosive growth from there. I am sure of that. Otherwise, I'm around sometimes. I'm not as active online as I used to be due to real life stuff, but I am a part of the fellowship. I am in the GCA. I'm obviously in the For the Homies server, which, as AP said, you should join. We do have watch parties there. We're watching something every Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please consider joining, being active there, and join the watch parties. It'll be great. Back to you, fan.
All right, so I'm gonna let everybody know that the Saturday after Thanksgiving, there won't be an anime with the homies. Probably I'm gonna get some guys together and we might play Among Us in Discord that night. We got a somewhat of a big announcement coming this week on Thursday night. Damn, I'm having a brain fart here.
Old age.
No, I got a lot of stuff in my head I'm thinking about. Once again, I'd like to thank Atomic Patriot for all our new logos, our channel banner. This guy is phenomenal. Reach out to this guy.
Autistic.
Reach out to this guy. Reach out to this guy. He might can help you with because he's been helping with thumbnails, even though Campia did the shitty one for tonight. Put me on Sonya, bitch.
Red Phantom.
Well, you gotta remember. Last night the chat spoke. Campia is the true power bottom at 90%. And I gotta make him look gay in a meme too. So yeah, I gotta do that too.
Hey,
but yeah, all our links are down in
Screenshot.
the description down below.
I'll say this. I want to plug this. Buy the merch for the homies.
Yep, we got
Yes.
merch. We got merch.
Buy it,
We're
dude.
working on
This
some
shirt
new
is
stuff.
actually pretty damn comfortable.
Working on some new stuff too. Also, we do have a Clips channel. I'd like to announce that today. There is a Clips channel that has nothing on it yet, but I'll throw out the links for that on X here later. Also, normally I would say go watch Jess's stream, but she's over there walking like an Egyptian right now.
Yep.
Hope you guys have a good time in Egypt, ABF and Jess.
Yes.
And we'll
And
see you guys.
Check out Vagabond's channel.
Yeah, Vagabond tonight.
Vagabond.
I swear it's not hentai. I might
Even though
make
it
an
is.
appearance. I might make an appearance like later on when everybody's like it dwindles down. But because of Betlaw being an asshole towards me in chat, I'm gonna make him look really gay in a meme tonight. I'm getting you back, asshole. I'm getting you back, asshole.
And also, as a quick announcement, because my wife, I finished watching Elfin Lead with her, so now I'm afraid Vagabond's going to headhunt me to get me on an episode and ask me about it, which I'm deathly afraid of. Everybody, please protect me. I'm scared.
Interesting.
End of statement.
Also, everybody, so we'll see you guys Thursday night for the Homies podcast. I am Red Phantom X. He's Atomic Ebola. He's the Dollar Tree Rey Mysterio, M. Campio. We
Liquid
got
Patriot.
Big Dog Jake, and we got Rhonda, the Conqueror. And
Conqueror.
We'll see you guys Thursday night.
Ronda Rousey.
Have a good rest of the week, and we'll see you guys Thursday
Like
night.
the
Black
stream,
Sunday.
everybody.
Like the stream, nerds.
Like stream nerds.
And if it's brown, flush it down. And if it's yellow, don't eat the snow. It could be pee. Good night, everybody.
Okay.
Peace out, guys. You're welcome.